Welcome.
Welcome. Merry Christmas week, y'all.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
You look so damn cute.
Thank you. I try.
Gretchen dressed up. So if you do not listen to us or watch us on YouTube, you should right now. I think most of the episode will probably not be us because it's a Patreon episode that we're super excited to share with you.
Yes. So, listeners, for your listening pleasure, this was a bonus crime from last year in January. We covered about Mario Batali, the famed chef. And when you listen to the episode, you'll know I had a lot of thoughts on him. And if you would like to hear more of our bonus content, then head over to all the ways you can listen to that.
Yeah, so you can go to patreon.com/Housewives of True Crime. You can also listen to us on the Clink Clink Club. If you listen through Apple Podcast, it's really easy. Just pull up your app and it should be right there when you see, like, go to our page, Housewives of True Crime, and it's right there. You just push Clink Clink Club. Or if you listen on Spotify, it's called Housewives of True Crime bonus content, and it's also right there for you to subscribe. And that one does it through Patreon and just puts it right onto your feed through Spotify. So there's 3 ways, and they are all amazing ways to listen to our bonus content. And we give you one episode every single week on Thursdays, and then a bonus crime a month.
Yes. And I know you all have a lot to do right now while you're,
Wrapping
presents, and then you're going to be taking down your Christmas decorations. So you need something to binge, and there's just a ton of content on there.
Oh my gosh. By the way, I am like, my stress level is up to like all the way up
Yeah.
for the Christmas stress.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, I am also in a shirt that is festive. You just can't see. You see, it says,
Oh, yeah, it's really cute. I love the red and pink vibes.
Yeah.
If you're not watching this, I'm giving reindeer vibes.
I know.
And I do want to
And
give
are those
you
stickers on your face, or what is that?
It's a face tattoo.
Oh, so cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have all kinds of situations
You
going
should
on
have
over
made
here.
somebody wear that for your boat parade.
I had them wear this to the my daughter wore this exact outfit to the Christmas tree lighting.
Got it.
This year. Yeah.
Okay.
We spread the dress up love around here. I do want to give the people a follow-up on the boat parade. He's real excited. I listened to what I said about it last week. I'm real embarrassed I said that because I thought, it's pretty good, right? I maybe let Tab get in my head because she was so impressed.
I was. I mean, you guys all saw it. If you follow us on Facebook, and I also put it on Instagram, her boat was so good.
Was cute. And I do think my actual popcorn popping idea, because the theme was a carnival theme, was pretty original.
Yes.
I also had a little projection thing going. I didn't see anyone else with that, but I don't even think I was a contender.
Gretchen thinks these other people that have these big giant boats that are just out of control.
So many lights. I mean, I really blame the husband because he's so obsessed with his line of sight.
Yeah.
But next year, I'm going to put a big old ugly generator on the boat, and the people that ride with me are going to have to suffer through it because we are going to light that shit up.
Yeah. Gretchen was a little bummed after her first time. She was like, dude, the other boats mine's good, but these other boats are just
creative. If they had like a creative category, I think I could be nominated. But I didn't even make like the city Instagram pictures or anything because these other boats, they killed it.
Yeah. Sad. Sad. Because I really was impressed. So I think everybody else was.
First year. Next year, I'm on it.
And next year I'm coming. So I've already discussed it with the husband, and he already knows.
He's in it.
And so we are 100% going to be there. So
also, not everyone could win. I do want to shout out my friend Jessica, who we posted a video of me trying to make up for my lack of lights while popping it while it's hot. And she, I think, lost her voice screaming, "Pop it like it's hot," behind me. like as if the judges could hear it through a crowd of people probably 100 yards away.
Oh my goodness. All right.
So
Well,
thanks, Jess.
all right. Good job.
Okay,
so-
and everybody,
yes.
listen to the end, because I'm going to give you a great update on Mr. Batali. And if you've listened to this before because you're already a Patreon member, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And maybe you want to just give it a listen again because maybe you forgot.
Well, I know. Sometimes when you get those cookbooks during the Christmas season too, you're like, ooh, hopefully it's not a Mario Batali one.
Well, this will remind you why.
Okay. Let's go.
Clink, clink. Today's bonus crime is one that I was reluctant to do for totally selfish reasons. It's the case of famed chef Mario Batali.
Oh.
Who is someone I admired via the television. Mario taught me the basics of pasta from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been making the delicious pasta from scratch for like a minute. I mean, it's one of my signature things.
There's a couple things that Gretchen does by scratch. Pizza
that are
dough.
Really fucking good.
Yeah. That is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Pumpkin raviolis.
Oh,
amazing.
That is, yes. That is your signature.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, anyways, I learned from Mario the basics, and I love all that food geek stuff, and he's just has so much knowledge of Italian ingredients and the region and why you should get I eat that shit up. Okay.
You do.
Anyways, I just assumed that he was not a man pig because he wears those orange Crocs and he drives a Vespa.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, those things are just not sexy. So I made the mistake of thinking sexual harassment, not his jam. There's a lot of men out there, famous chefs that I like too, but it's like, I wouldn't put it past them. Sure. Right. I did not see this coming with Batali. Well, then when he was canceled back in 2017, I thought it was like your typical restaurant work sexual harassment, which is not okay, but usually entails like some creepy comments, with maybe like a side of degrading, some employees or something, not like physical assaultation. Okay. But he did the assaulting tab.
Like the real assaulting?
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm. And I have had to accept it. And so do y'all. Mm-hmm. So, okay, little backstory on the Mario is he grew up in Washington and loved to cook with his Italian grandmother. After he graduated from the prestigious Rutgers University with a degree in finance, he decided not to go into finance, but pursue his real passion, the food. He made a name for himself, bouncing around, being a young, accomplished sous chef at fine dining establishments in San Francisco, and one of our faves, the Biltmore in Santa Barbara.
Love it.
Love it. The brunch is legendary. Being the follow your passion kind of guy Mario was, he decided to take his talent and apprentice in Italy. He was lured back to the States after 3 years when a friend of his from college offered him a job at his family's restaurant in New York City. The place was called Rocco's, and it was very old school. They had a loyal clientele, but were looking to elevate the food. Well, Mario's kind of like this young hotshot, and he was not feeling that. He didn't want to elevate spaghetti and meatballs. Okay. He wanted to experiment and introduce new things. Well, that didn't go over well with the clientele. And he ended up alienating them. And additionally, he made a habit of making New York friends or new New York friends by wining and dining them at the owner's expense. And it became clear to his friend he didn't really have any regard for the restaurant's success, just his own. And so he felt taken advantage of, and he cut ties with him. I just kind of give you that example because Mario seems to have a history of like a little self-serving douchery. Like this was a little Italian family-owned restaurant. And he's like, hey, everybody come in here. I'm going to make you octopus and pour bottles of wine. And doesn't matter that they didn't have any customers that night, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe because I grew up in a restaurant, it's just mean, you know? So that kind of self-serving douchery just kind of escalated over the years with his rise to superstar chef fame. So after the Friends restaurant thing didn't pan out, he opened his own restaurant with Steve Crane called Poe. After only being open a few weeks, the place got a stellar review in the New York Times and became the newest hotspot in the city. Poe remained open until 2017 when the landlord raised the rent 120%, according to Steve. I am so perplexed by that. I mean, it really like blows my mind. I see so many good places close because of the rent, and then they just fucking stay empty forever. And it like boggles my mind because then nobody is making any money.
Dude, you see it all the time.
All the time. So balls. Anywho, Steve said things started out great with Mario. He was on the sidelines while Mario rose to fame. During the Poe years, Mario met and married Susie Kahn. Her family founded Coach, like them handbags. Okay.
Oh, yes. Fancy.
Yeah, fancy. So you can imagine she ran in a real sophisticated social circle. She was well connected, which supposedly is how Mario got connected with the Food Network. He was one of their first chefs with a show. The show was Molto Italiano, and it really put Mario on the map. As the Food Network became more popular, so did Mario, and fans of the show flocked to Poe to get a glimpse of the man in orange Crocs. He kind of blew up. He had a product line, which, okay, the jarred red sauce was the best I've ever bought.
Even better than the Victoria at Costco. That one is really good.
I think Rao is my like close second.
Okay, so I like both Rao and Victoria, and those are the only two that I've ever liked in all, sauces in a.
This was better than Rao.
Really? Well, then
it was
you should
so
try.
good. I remember all of the ingredients were, and everything was imported from Italy.
So is Victoria. You got to try that one.
Tomatoes, carrots, onions, garlic, olive oil, salt. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got to try the Victoria if you haven't.
I have to try the Victoria, yeah, because
that's like that, the same thing, all imported from Italy, and it's limited ingredients.
Okay, listen, good tomato sauce is life, right?
Right.
In addition to killing it with the product line, he was a popular guy among celebrities. Mario and Gwyneth Paltrow were BFFs. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Okay, maybe some of you watched their road trip across Spain on PBS. I loved it. And I think subconsciously assume Gwyneth isn't tolerating any creepiness, right? Those two, well, actually it was 4 people on the trip, if you go back and watch the show, I just thought they were just in it for the genuine love of food and culture. I mean, it's PBS, like how much could they be making, right?
Mm-hmm.
In between eats, they stopped at museums, checked out architecture, just real cool kids, right? Mario was in fact so cool that he was named Man of the Year in GQ magazine.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Don't you have to be kind of somewhat good looking or no? Don't have to?
Apparently it's not a requirement. It's not a requirement. Okay.
I would think it would be.
Also,
I'm just saying.
To each their own. Let me tell you, Susie Kahn, Disco Biscuit, and clearly she was liking what Mario was selling. She made babies with him.
I mean, listen, you like a lot of guys that I have no desire. So I'm not.
I do not think I have ever found that is what is disturbing about this. I would fuck a lot of ugly guys, but I have never found Mario fuckable. Like, I thought he looked like your uncle, harmless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not above a ginger either. So
no, you're not.
No, I'm not.
she's
I'm
not.
under them.
No.
Yeah. So,
under, over, whatever works for
whatever,
you.
however you want to you do it. But yeah. So I don't know. GQ thought he was cool.
Okay.
And there's that.
There's
Okay.
that.
So by 2011, Mario owned 16 restaurants and was one of 4 hosts on the daytime talk show, The Chew. At the height of his popularity in 2012, 115 of his employees sued him and his hospitality company with good reason, I think. Turns out Mario's restaurant policy was to keep 5% of the tips of the employee wine sales. There is no part of any tips the owners should be taking. Right?
No.
That is balls. And a judge agreed, and Mario and company had to pay up $5.25 million. If that settlement was divided equally among those employees, that is $45,652 a piece. So that's a lot of dollars, for somebody waiting tables, right?
Uh-huh.
That thievery from his employees did not get him very much bad press. I mean, I didn't even know about it. Or, I could have forgotten, right? Mm-hmm. He was just able to keep it moving. And, boy, was he. He made his way regularly around all his New York restaurants, and among employees, he was not exactly beloved. Although he was known to start out the evening likable, jovial, as he drank, he became what employees called the Red Menace. The Red Menace, alter ego of Mario's, made his most frequent appearances at the Spotted Pig. Did you know about the Spotted Pig?
No.
Okay. The Spotted Pig opened in 2004, and Mario was an investor.
Okay.
Mario was friends with a man named Ken Friedman, who was new to the business but wanted to take an old tavern and keep it the same, but make the menu like Michelin star worthy. And with the help of chef April Bloomfield, he did just that. It was not long after opening, it became like the spot to go in New York City. It was the kind of place that low people like us would have found it impossible to get a table at. I mean, it was, Beyonce and Jay-Z and it was the place to go where the paparazzi, hangs out to take the pictures. It would, I would say the equivalent of everybody goes here. Craig's.
Right.
Yeah. Craig's. It used to be like Mr. Chow's or something. Yeah. Okay. So
it's a new place, whatever, every couple years.
Yeah. So this, and isn't it kind of funny how it's it kind of rotates around. So it can be one place for a couple of years, but then somehow you're a loser if you eat there once it's turn. Whenever I read about a star eating at the Ivy, I'm like, ew, that is so 10 years ago. Why are you eating at the Ivy?
It's still nice too. It's still nice.
No fault.
I know.
Yeah, right? I know. Okay. Well, so
it's like wearing old jeans, that are out. What are those? What are the ones that nobody wears anymore? Like Hudson, right?
I know. I still have some in my closet folded up in the corner.
Dude,
those jeans fit me so damn well.
I know.
And so I'm maybe they'll come back, like Levi's.
I think. Let's hope, because I think I spent so much money on all these fancy jeans.
Oh,
I still
when
have
I was buying Hudson's, it was a real splurge for my budget.
I know. We would wait tables for 2 whole days.
Yeah,
to just buy a pair of jeans and sacrifice
that little flag on the butt.
Our food.
Which jeans can go away forever? Those I don't know if they make them anymore. Those Frankie B's. Man, I hated every bitch that could pull those off. If you remember the Frankie B's, those were those low ones that always showed your crack.
Uh-huh.
So low. You had to have a real good shave. Okay.
Yeah, but low jeans are not in right now. So
no, thank God.
I know.
But you know what? The
seriously.
truth is, I don't like the real high-waisted ones either.
No, I need the
That's
mid-waist.
what I like about the Hudsons. I like a mid-waist
I know.
jean. The high-waist ones make me feel like I'm wearing a mom jean, even though I know they are in style.
Yep.
Yeah. Feel like I get a little pooch in my stomach. I digress. Okay. So, the staff worked pretty bananas hours at the Spotted Pig, like 12 to 14 hours. Because that's what you did when you landed one of those coveted jobs at one of those like hotspot restaurants, you know?
Yeah.
You put up with a lot because you know there is a line of people waiting to take your place. I can definitely relate to having a restaurant job where I felt like I would pay the price for even asking for time off, you know, whether I got it or not. For the staff in New York City, most of them are there because they're trying to make it as, you know, artists or entertainers or writers or something.
Totally.
And the cost of living is so high in the city. You know, jobs like the Spotted Pig made it possible for them to be able to, you know, live out their dream. So I have been out of the restaurant game for a minute, but the experience some of these servers describe while working in a high profile restaurant resonates with me for sure. I've had some really great experiences and I've had some really icky ones. There are a lot of power tripping restaurant managers out there that are like super degrading because you are disposable, basically, you know.
Dime a dozen.
Yeah, and it's this
Except
weird
not really, because
I know, and I did realize that with age. I'm going to get to that, but it's this weird environment where, you know, usually some or sometimes more than some drinking is acceptable. You know, it's different being in a restaurant or a club than being in any other kind of, you know, job. And managers spend their night, you know, kissing the ass of whichever high profile customer are in there that night. And you know what happens? They start to feel like they're high profile too. You know, I have seen that happen in rooms repeatedly where it's like everybody's cool and then everybody starts thinking there's someone because someone famous is there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Also, restaurants and clubs lend itself to doing other substances. You know, you're late. You're there late. Everybody's partying, right?
We saw that a lot too.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And you're working on like, you know, kind of a stage. So if someone like belittles you or like inappropriately, like say like grazes your body or something, it's easy to just freeze in the moment because it's like you're doing a performance. You know, you don't want all these other people to see it. You don't get to react right then.
There. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you have to get back to work because it's busy. And if you stop and address something like you would in another job, you'll be fired it doesn't matter what happened, just for stopping working. Like that is just not an option, you know? It's just like that. The thing about creeps like that is they push it with their employees and then they keep on pushing it and you become desensitized to it. And most people just accept that that's just part of the job, putting up with shit like that. In the documentary, Batali, Fall of a Chef, this woman talks about how Ken, the other owner of the Spotted Pig, asked her if she wanted to meet Amy Poehler. And you know, who doesn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when he called her over, he pushed her face into his pants. And
gross.
You know, it like brings this woman to tears, and it's been many years later. And she's just like, I was aware that move was to show her you're not one of us. You know, I remember being so intimidated and creeped out by restaurant managers in my 20s. But I will say by the time I was 30, because I was still working in restaurants, you guys, until I was like 34 when I started having kids. I was either doing that or cooking on boats, which, listen, it's the same kind of thing. like charter guests. You're like at their mercy, you know? I didn't take shit pretty much. From 30 to 34, I definitely did not take shit. The thing is, the whole thing where they act like you're so disposable, I knew I really wasn't. You know, I was really good at what I did. I knew my shit. I was also married. And so my income wasn't solely dependent on my job. So I was in a position where I didn't have so much to lose, which makes it a whole lot easier to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think it's amazing how much the tolerance for sexual harassment had declined. Even in like those 10 years, I think I saw a big decline for it. And in the case of Mario, there is a best-selling, well-respected food author, Bill Buford, who did a profile of Batali in The New Yorker in 2002. So this guy spends time working in the kitchen. His article was he wanted to be Mario's food slave. Okay, which I don't think you can say that anymore, but that's what he said in 2002. And a few years after the profile, he wrote a best-selling book called Heat. In both cases, he writes blatantly about how crass comments Mario made to staff were. Like, tell them I'm going to go pistol whip them with my penis if they don't like it.
What the F?
Yeah. And there is a lot of shit like that. I just remember being that girl in her 20s that was like, someone would say that to me and I would have been like, okay, froze. Versus like, you know, because you're new.
Dude, I had...
And then in your 30s, you'd be like, shut the fuck up. Don't talk to me like that.
I know. I had an experience at work, and it wasn't at when I was waiting tables, where a guy came up to me and was like, you know, said something like something about going to bed with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I froze too, because I was like, what the fuck did he just like? He just said that to me, and I just was like, he was in a higher position than I was at work. And so I just was like, I don't even know. I didn't know what to say. I felt really disgusting because like it was more than just, do you want to go to bed with me? It was like, it was just too much, you know? It's like, what in the world?
Also, it's not like there's like an HR department in restaurants.
True. And God knows what we were told in restaurants, from
oh my God,
patrons to people we were working with. I mean, it was gross.
Yeah, it's gross.
It was fun, but it was gross.
Yeah.
And not that part was fun, but I'm just saying waiting tables was a really fun time for us, but man, like gross.
What I think is interesting is that this is a really, really, this book Heat was a bestseller. And he is writing all this stuff that Mario is doing and how awful he was to his employees. And no one fucking cared. And it was 2007 when that book was published. It's not that long ago. It's kind of like Hugh Hefner to me. Mm-hmm. We all knew those girls had a curfew, and, you know, some of the women before Holly, like, what's her name? Isabel St. James, wrote about the conditions and how, you know, drugs were being passed out. And if you wanted to be a girlfriend, you had to fuck half and all this stuff. And nobody cared. We just were not, as a culture, ready to accept it. We still wanted to like glorify all that shit, you know? So, anyways, but I mean, I guess just like it took a while, but people started to care. Now, I never encountered the craziness that these staffers describe. The Spotted Pig was not just a restaurant. It was like a private club. There were 3 floors, and the 3rd floor was where most of the elite got to get their party on. And they say anything, you know.
What year was this?
The Spotted Pig opened in 2004 and closed in 2018 or 19.
Okay.
So, but this is all going down, I think, mostly, you know, well, pretty much the whole time.
No, I'm just wondering, like, why we hadn't heard of it, like why we didn't go there.
We don't do that much in New York City.
No, but I've been there, and
you have much more important friends that you go to New York City with. I don't know why I hadn't heard of it. There are so many cool restaurants in New York, though.
Mm-hmm. True.
We're in the weeds back at this point in time.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. That's why I was like, okay, what We hadn't had our little ones quite yet. Like it just opened when we
And
were
then
like
they
getting
did.
married.
And then we're
Yeah.
not paying attention to where they're eating. We're barely
No.
keeping our heads on straight.
100%.
Yeah. So on this third, private floor, they describe having to clean up around Mario while he was getting blowjobs. There was an occasion where staff put the kibosh on Mario's grossness. 2 employees were in the office on the third floor counting the money, as you do, and glanced at the camera and saw Mario fondling a woman who was passed out. They interrupted and got the woman out of there. And since the whole incident was on tape, they brought it to the attention of Ken and April. But they didn't do anything. I mean, for Ken, that is not surprising. Him and Mario are buddies. They're both pretty slimy, kind of like partners in crime.
Mm-hmm.
He sounds like he was pretty much as abusive as Mario was, from what the employees say. But for April, that's interesting, right? Like woman to woman, we have a responsibility to look out for each other. I mean, that is assaultation.
Right.
I do appreciate her honesty, and I understand her point of view since she has spoken out, and I'll tell you what she thinks at the end. Yeah, people make mistakes. I think it's unfortunate that she felt too intimidated to stand up for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So for years, the Spotted Pig operated, and business as usual included lots of sexual exploitative shenanigans. And then the tide began to turn. With the MeToo movement and, all the Harvey Weinstein stuff and accusations that were coming out, everyone began the much needed conversation to initiate change in regards to sexual harassment. A New York Times writer tweeted in 2017, "Who's the Harvey Weinstein of your restaurant?" Yeah. And she was flooded with responses, and one name kept popping up: Mario Batali.
Like a lot.
Like a lot. Yeah. This led to the Times connecting with a group of former Spotted Pig employees that had stayed in touch and were willing to tell their stories. They began an investigation. They did not take it lightly. They know he has a restaurant empire, and Mario was a huge presence in the New York City scene and was also very philanthropic and accommodating to journalists. And so, basically, like, they liked him. They did not want this to be true. At the same time, the New York Times was investigating the claims that all these people started making about Mario, which basically involves like corroborating stories. So, I mean, they're really looking into it. This freelance writer was also investigating Mario Batali and his restaurants. And she had reached out to anyone she could find that had worked for his hospitality company, which led her to multiple servers who had detailed incidents of sexual harassments from his early days as a new restaurant owner at Poe. So this reporter follows up with Steve Crane, his former business partner at Poe, and he corroborates the woman's claims, which, by the way, it does suck that that's what it takes to give them validity. But in reality, I mean, that's kind of what it takes, like a man corroborating that this happened. Otherwise, people say, "Oh, they're just making it up," right? Well, the day before the freelance reporter's story was published in Eater, Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace, okay, tweeted, "Monday is going to really suck." And then he tweeted, "It's where you stand when the people you care about and admire do awful things that matters. Keeping head down and hoping it goes away? No." Followed by another tweet that said, "It's Batali and it's bad." Bravo celebrity famed chef Tom Colicchio responded to Anthony Bourdain's trip that it was Batali, and no one should be surprised. When he got responses like, is that implying that people sat idly by, knowing that he was sexually harassing women? Colicchio said no, but Bill, Buford documented his bad behavior for years. People just didn't want to hear it, so it was like well known. The day after the freelance reporter story went out on Eater, the Times published their investigation. So, that like double whammy, that really sealed his fate. Within a week, he was fired from the Chew and the Food Network. His products were pulled from shelves, and his business partners cut ties. Mario issued an apology that did not come across as real genuine. Although he said, I've made mistakes and I'm real sorry. He also said, in case you're searching for a holiday recipe,
Stop
these
it right
pizza
now.
dough cinnamon rolls are a fan favorite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which clearly shows he did not understand the magnitude of the situation,
Oh my
right?
God. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
And let's even say, so many of these douchebags don't even acknowledge that they've ever done anything, it would kill them to say they're sorry, So I like that he's saying like, oh, I made a mistake. But the idea that it seems to me like it doesn't even across like all of you're fucking over every single person that works for you is probably like losing money. And it's like a drop in the bucket to you. Like he just he's delusional.
Yeah.
It's totally self-centered. So following that, the articles being published, 3 women filed reports with the New York Police Department that they believed they had been assaulted by Mario after being drugged. One gave an interview to Anderson Cooper where she disguised her identity. It was like one of those interviews where it's like a shadowy figure.
Mm-hmm.
She is now open now. She's in the documentary Batali. But at the time, she was anonymous, as were most of the accusers, because he was so powerful and influential and, they feared him.
Yeah.
He is described as being real vindictive. She recalls him giving her a drink after work, and she just had flashes of him kissing her and throwing up. She woke up and found scratches on her
in his mouth.
Right. She found scratches on her inner thighs and found what appeared to be spermatozoa on her skirt.
Spermatozoa.
That is the technical word. It's my favorite. Okay. Not to make light of the situation. So she went to the hospital.
Uh-huh.
And she did a rape kit. But it wasn't tested because she didn't file a police report. She didn't file a police report because she didn't really know what had happened to her. She was like, can't you just tell me if this is sperm for sure? And then I can decide what to do. And they wouldn't do it. But she did get a rape kit done. And, that there is documented medical records of her, that night at the hospital, and her saying that she did not want to file charges because her boss was very powerful and influential and she feared him. So she was afraid he would like blacklist her from the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which, sucks. So she was told by hospital staff that if she did a drug test, because she was like, please do a drug test so I can tell. And they told her it was pointless because those drugs are out of your system so quickly. So this woman, she regrets not filing the report. And, the rape kit was never tested. And you can't, you can't blame her for not doing it. What she ended up doing was quitting her job and, kind of going away quietly, which is what so many women do. So prominent people in the food industry were naturally being asked during appearances, like, what's your take on Batali, right? Giada De Laurentiis. Do you know who that is?
Yep, I do.
Of course, everybody should, right?
Mm-hmm.
I read that she works out 4 hours a day. You think that's true?
Oh, come on. I don't have 4 hours a day to work out. Seriously?
It explains how she eats all that damn food.
So true.
Girlfriend can put down some Nutella.
So true.
But
you're probably right.
4 hours a day is crazy, right? Okay.
Yeah.
She said that what has to happen, but it is sad. And although the experience of these women that have come forward was not hers, it didn't come as a complete shock either. Okay.
She knew.
I like that, right?
Yeah.
So people have been talking. Okay. Listen to what Rachel Ray had to say. She said, I don't think anyone is going to seriously stop eating Mario's food as long as Mario is still cooking it and serving it. His food is made with love.
Ooh.
Wrong, girl. Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. You were so wrong. Okay. I wanted to look up all the reactions, to the big name chefs at the time, like Bobby Flay and, Guy Fieri.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I couldn't find a comment and, sadly, actually just found a whole bunch of dirt on those two. So, that's probably why they're not commenting, right? Because they don't want it to come back like pot kettle black.
Yeah.
Which sucks. Bobby Flay is a ginger I have dreamt about. But I would not be surprised if all the shit, shit that comes out about him.
Yeah.
He's a little too charming. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Okay. Well, Padma, I love her, was asked on Watch What Happens Live, and she said she found it really disappointing, but not at all surprising. 70% of women that have worked in the restaurant industry say they have been sexually harassed.
Dude, it happens right there. That's what I'm saying. Like, we both have. We both have multiple times. We were bartenders.
Both have many times. And you've probably, if you listen to us long enough, you've heard us talk about our boss, Outback Bob. And we have such an affection for him. And I think part of why we have such an affection for him is just because he was one of the few who didn't creep on us.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is so true. Because, man,
because they're few and far between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those industries, right? Where,
oh, yeah.
And even in Outback, where we bartended at Outback, but we had this college across the street. What was that?
ITT Tech.
Yeah, ITT Tech. Right. And all those guys would come in, and I don't know, just I feel like drinking gets involved. I never had anything super crazy. But
Bob ran a pretty tight ship. It was not like I worked at every other restaurant I worked at, people drank on the job. And people did drink on the job at Outback, by the way. But
secretly,
it was not out in the open. You would have gotten, written up or fired for sure if you were caught drinking.
We did have an assistant manager that was a bit questionable.
Yeah, but we had a lot of assistant managers because Bob ran them out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the Attorney General, and remember, this is all during the, MeToo, and everybody's, making a lot of noise about this scene. The Attorney General in New York wanted to make a statement that this was not acceptable and launched its own investigation into Mario's whole hospitality company, which resulted in 11 women that were Spotted Pig employees receiving a settlement of $600,000 divided amongst them and profit sharing from the spotted pig for the next 10 years. Well, Ken Friedman just closed the spotted pig right after the settlement was reached.
Oh.
20 days later, actually.
So then it's, well, who's going to go there anyways? Come on.
I mean, who agrees to that? Who doesn't know that he's going to just close the door? Of course he's going to close the door.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were surprised. There was another settlement that included 20 other women from other Batali-owned restaurants that resulted in a $600,000 settlement. Mario did not face any criminal charges stemming from, his workplace behavior, but one woman's allegation did lead to Mario facing criminal charges. In 2019, a woman who had an encounter with Mario in 2017 filed a report. She said while taking a picture with Mario in Boston, he reached under her skirt and grabbed her ass, then pulled her towards him and forcibly kissed her. Okay, I'm not condoning any of his bad behavior, right? But let's be real. She was entitled to report that when it happened, but she did it 2 years later because he was getting all this bad press. Right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a miracle that it led to charges being filed since there was no penetration. But it did. And when it went to court, Mario did not wear his orange Crocs. He was looking very serious in blue and gray. Mario's attorneys were also serious, and they subpoenaed the woman's cell phone records and went through them intently. And this is where it gets crazy bananas. So this woman had previously sat as a juror on a totally unrelated case. And when she did, she broke the juror code about discussing the case. She texted her friend, she's stuck on a jury all week, and this asshole is guilty AF. And she also texted that she read some stuff about him online.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Well, those cell phone transcripts were turned over to that dude who, in fact, was found guilty and was serving time for assault and battery. And his attorneys were able to use them to quickly get him out for time served.
Are you serious?
Yeah. The judge presiding in the criminal case against Mario, where it was just a judge, not a jury trial,
Mm-hmm.
okay, found Mario not guilty on the charges against him and read this chick the riot act for committing such a terrible offense and not being credible. And then she was charged with juror misconduct. I mean,
So what did she get?
I think she just had to pay a fine.
Okay.
So he walked away. He has since faced more civil suits, which he has continued to just settle.
Mm-hmm.
But he hasn't faced
How much money does he have, you think?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's like, hey, just here's my...
Yeah. Yeah. He hasn't faced any more criminal charges. So what's up with Mario now? Well, not a whole lot. He lives in Northport, Michigan. He has invested in a bakery there. Him and Susie have not filed for divorce, but from the digging I did, it looks like she lives in New York and has nothing to do with Michigan. So maybe they just have so much money that they're kind of pulling like a Kyle and what's his name?
Mm-hmm.
Mauricio. It's too much work to get divorced. Split it all up, right?
Do you think that's what they're doing?
Yeah, I do kind of think they're just staying together because they don't want to divide the assets.
Mm-hmm.
And neither one of them probably intends on getting married again. But when one of them wants to, that will be when they file. So Mario has some hard feelings about New York City. He said recently when asked about the city, Me and New York have parted ways. I'm done. It was a great town. It worked for me for the longest time. New York, there's a lot of great people and I love most of them, but there's enough assholes in New York City that I'm done with that town and wish everyone the best there. So in October of 2023, 6 years after he was canceled, he started to test the waters to see how possible a comeback was, I guess. He hosts a virtual cooking class. So his response to, New York has enough assholes that he's not going back there was to somebody in one of his cooking classes asking him if he was ever going to come back to New York. You can attend one of his virtual classes for $50 a pop.
That's not very much money.
It's not but he has a lot of followers.
He does. So people are still doing it.
Yeah, I think people are still doing it. When he began posting to promote his new venture, he was met with some backlash. A lot of cooking publications shamed him with headlines that said, like, we don't want Mario back. Stay away, Mario. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But he still has a lot of fans. I think a lot of people are kind of like me. Like, there was so much going on during that initial Me Too. So many people were like taken down. Like, I didn't really pay attention to any of this. Like, they don't really know, the ins and outs, and they just, I don't know, they're just over it. Right. Mm-hmm. So he still has 446,000 followers. And on his Instagram, I gotta tell you, they're mostly supportive. Reportedly, when asked during one of his online cooking classes what his favorite wine was, he said he didn't drink anymore.
Oh, well, that's probably a good thing.
I think so. Let's all hope that he has faced his demons and is living life with good intentions and clarity, So for me, I am tossing his cookbook, though. I can't see him the same anymore.
No way.
He just skeeves me out too much, right? As for his partners in the Spotted Pig, well, Ken Friedman has taken his business out west. He's not the front of the house face he was back in New York City. He has invested in some establishments in LA, including Horses on Sunset. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, well, it made the list of one of LA's top 10 eateries. When I was checking it out, you know who follows Horses? Monica, as in Monica and Dax.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, I don't know. Ken has had some legal issues with the profit sharing with the restaurant that has been, publicized, but I mean, it's all boring, so I'm not going to get into that. Just know that he is still in business and hopefully has changed his ways. Now, for April Bloomfield, the genius chef behind the Spotted Pig, she gave an in-depth interview to the New York Times, and she said, I failed a lot of people. That's on my shoulders. And it was because she felt intimidated by Ken Friedman, of their power dynamic. She says, I felt like I was in a position where he held all the cards. And that goes back to the very opening of the Spotted Pig, when she says she shared with Friedman that she didn't like some of the framed posters that were on the wall. And this caused him to threaten to revoke her work visa. She's from England. She says, by Ken telling her that he was telling her he was the reason she was famous and rich, and that he had the power to change that. She claims she tried to hire an HR coordinator and that she was not told about episodes in which Ken groped employees or asked for nude photographs. I didn't talk too much about Ken, but yeah, I did tell you enough that, I mean, he sounds like he was as big a douche as Mario. Okay. Mm-hmm. I appreciate her honesty, but former employees have said that she's all about herself and always has been. But they continue to think that because in the wake of everything, she hasn't reached out to anyone personally. And they kind of feel that, she owes them that. Yeah. She opened a restaurant called Sailors in the fall of 2023, and she was embraced for it. And it has amazing reviews. It's in Greenwich Village, I believe. She has half the followers of Mario. But one of them is Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart.
Yeah. So, I guess I wish her well too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a whop.
That's a whop. All right.
Okay, so when we ended that episode last year, Mario was just getting back on social media and dipping his toes in the way of making an online comeback. And he had faced a little backlash for it. Some of the food mags had said, "Go away, Mario, we don't want you back." Well, he's back, Tab.
Oh.
And he is posting up a storm. Based on those posts, he's been doing some travel to tropical lands and Italy and, surprisingly, New York City.
Oh, because he said he was done with the New York City.
He's back. He's back. He visited.
Short-lived.
Yeah. He visited a friend's restaurant called Da Toscano.
Okay. And is he drinking the vino?
Did not see any pictures of him drinking the vino. Yeah. I did not see any pictures. This restaurant he visited is a husband-wife owned restaurant, and they have remained friends with Mario, and I think a lot of people have. He has 436,000 followers, which is around what he had before.
I think that people don't know, Gretch. I think that.
You think so?
I think they don't know that.
I think they don't care because his food is really so.
I know. I mean,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I scrolled through the comments to see, because some people hate follow. I really didn't see anything but nice comments.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, not really like, but kind of like Michael Jackson, right?
I was thinking the exact same thing.
You were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the music's so good, so you want to take the person out of the music kind of thing.
It's interesting how we are very insistent on distinguishing that so that we can still listen to the music. But when it comes to R. Kelly, where it's like if maybe Guy Fieri had a terrible scandal. We're like, no, you're a bad person if you listen to him.
Done.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes. Hypocrite.
Do people still listen to P. Diddy?
P. Diddy doesn't have that much good music. I mean, he had a bunch of great artists, but I mean, come on.
Yeah. What about Jay-Z?
Oh, well, we are reserving judgment on Jay-Z because I am not trying to, I got 99 problems
just one,
and a bitch ain't one forever. I make that reference all the time.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Well,
so good. Okay.
It is Monday, the 23rd that you are listening to this. If you've listened, every week, you could be listening to this in the future. But if you are listening when this drops, you are 2 days away from a Christmas celebration.
Okay, listen, I have more to tell you about Mario.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Jumpy.
Jeez,
She's got a lot of Christmas shit left to do, apparently. Okay. He still resides mostly in Michigan. Over the last year of posts, I did not see any that included his wife. Remember,
she was living in New York.
They haven't filed for divorce as far as I can see, but I don't know what's up with that. Probably not much. His former co-host on The Chew gave an interview to People magazine in February of 2024, so a month after we did this, and gave the quote when asked about why she has stuck by Mario for the last 7 years since he was let go of The Chew. She says, "It wasn't for me to forgive this person. When you read something about somebody in a newspaper and you don't know that person, that story becomes 100% of what you know about that person. When you know the person, that story becomes 2% of what you know about the person. That's just how I live my life. Judge lest, be judged." I mean, I could understand her point of view, maybe if I believed that she had never heard about him behaving badly, but I don't believe that. I think it was well documented for years. People be talking in restaurants and people be talking on TV sets. And so I give that a big fat whatever.
Yeah, she was probably coached to say that.
Also, I went on his YouTube page.
Yes.
Huge following. He's cooking up a storm. People really love him.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. So
people like to eat. What can I say? They like to eat good
it's
food.
really good.
Oh, all right. Well, there's Mario
There's
Batali
that.
for you.
Just being
Yes.
honest. That's the update.
Okay. Thanks for the
Okay.
update, Gretchy Poo.
Merry
Merry whatever you
everything. Merry
celebrate,
everything.
you know, even though we're saying it right around Christmas time, we really do hope that you just have whatever holiday you celebrate or not celebrate, just have a good old time this week.
That's right.
Clink, clink.
Clink, clink.